Alright, gamers, we are back for episode 8 of 4 Gamers Only. I am Glenn Gordon, your host. And guess what? We are here for a record 2 weeks in a row. Imagine that. Just kidding, we've done much longer. First of all, I've got with me Ben Shillabeer-Hall, who we missed last week. I believe he hitched a ride on a goat and found his way home. How are you, Ben?
Yeah, I had to follow the mystic goat back home because I've just got lost. I couldn't work out what the time was. I was confused.
Well,
I was like, "What? Where is I? What's going on?" And then a goat walked past. I was like,
that's my ticket home. All right. Apparently, goats have a good sense of direction.
Yeah.
Apparently,
they're better than me. That's for certain.
Ben has an announcement that we'll get to in just a few minutes. We also have Garri Bagdasarov, but only temporarily. He's going to pop off in a bit here, but he's here for now. How are you, Garri?
I'm pretty good. I'm glad to be here again.
Again? You
yes.
thought it was going to be just like one time and gone forever.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys like me enough. You might just like...
No, we don't.
Out.
We don't. It's okay.
Oh, see, now I'm sad.
And we also have, for the second time, Pedro, I believe you called yourself the Birdman? Pedro Gonzalez.
Yeah, because I got my buddy over here, Bailey. So we're ready to get going.
Hi, Bailey. See, she's got the hang of it already. All right, guys. So we had episode 7 last week. It was our first episode back after an unexpected break. And so I just wanted to say thanks for tuning in once again, guys. It's good to see some new faces back. Got a couple comments, actually we got just one tweet we'll get to in just a second here. And I'm just glad to see some of you again. Hopefully we will gain your trust once more. Pedro may not be the only new face new voice that you hear on this podcast. I'll just leave it at that for now. And with that, let's get into Twitter. Our only tweet that we have now is from @snova34z. He says, there's 3 parts. There are 3 parts to this. It says, first off, welcome. It's been way too long. Second, he says, welcome, Pedro. You did a nice job.
Yeah. Thanks, man.
And then third, he asks, how do you delete cloud online save data from the Vita? It's actually kind of way too complicated. You'd expect something like that, I guess, to be in the settings menu. That's where it is on the PS4 and I believe the PS3. But on the Vita, it's actually in the Content Manager. So if you open the Content Manager app, hit Start, and you go to Copy Content, you can connect to the cloud save thing. And from there, you would hit Copy from the Vita from the cloud to your Vita, and only there can you finally select save data to delete. Why it's so complicated is beyond me, but there you have it. You have a Vita, right? You mentioned Pedro?
Yes, I do. I haven't had one long though. I've only had it for a few months.
Oh, okay. So you got the new one, the PCH 2000, right?
I wouldn't tell you it was a white one. I got it right here. Here we go.
It's a white one. Okay.
PCH 1001.
Oh, so you got the earlier one. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Let's see. We have another tweet here, if I can speak. Another tweet here. I lied before. We have 2, not 1. This one is from Amulia Segal. I'm sorry, I can't read. I totally butchered that name. @Amul17398, he says, hey, really liked the episode, and also, Pedro is an amazing addition to the podcast. I agree.
Feels good, man. Feels good.
He's here. Here he is. And he's doing an awesome job. You said nothing about Ben or Garri, so I'll just leave it at that. And we'll move along. I'm so nice to my coworkers. That's what I do.
Why am I even here?
Why am I even here?
No, Garri and Ben are some of the best guys ever. Okay, so
Yay!
we're talking about the Vita. We talked a little bit about the Vita last week. There's actually been quite a bit of stuff breaking about the Vita. As I was editing last week's episode, actually, I noticed this. There was apparently a trademark for what everyone assumed to be a third-generation PlayStation Vita. The PCH 3000, we saw basically drawings, outlines of it, and it looked pretty much like the PCH 2000, the current version of the Vita, and so everyone kind of got excited and thought, oh my goodness, they're making another Vita, which would kind of go against the idea that they might be kind of giving up on the device. Hey, they're making another one. That doesn't sound like giving up. Are you guys aware of anything with this story?
From what I can tell, it's actually just a patent so that people can't take the design of the buttons on a handheld. Yeah, the place of where the triangle, square, and circle X are.
The patents.
Yeah, that's what the whole thing is. The patent is just literally to do that.
Right. That's actually something that DualShockers here also says.
Yeah. That's where I read it from.
Let me be honest about DualShockers. I don't like that website. And you know, I've been with PlayStation Universe. I'm serious. I've been with PlayStation Universe. This has nothing to do with competition. Me, Glenn, personally, I just don't like this website. 90% of the content seems to come from one person. And let me be honest, the guy, his writing is pretty arrogant. He'll go to battle in the comments and be rude to people. And quite frankly, half the time I think he's just making stuff up. So I don't know. I'm just talking, I guess. But I'm not a fan of DualShockers, let me say that. However, it seems that he is providing kind of a valid thing to support this. He's talking about how the characters, the Japanese characters in the trademark are kind of a sign. They actually mean it's a positional trademark. And it's basically, instead of being about the actual design of the product, it's about how things are positioned on the product. It's just, as I think as Ben was saying, it's really just a trademark to keep the position of the elements on the product. It's not a trademark for a new device. So there's that. I mean, no new PlayStation Vita. What if there was a PlayStation Vita? Like, what if there was a new PlayStation Vita? Do you think that that's a move that Sony would even make right now?
I think it's a move they have to make if they want to keep in the handheld business.
Yeah.
I don't think they want to keep in the handheld business, to be honest. There's not much of a business nowadays with smartphones, unless you're a Nintendo.
That's what I was going to say. It's like Vita had a bit of a rough run. I would think. I thought their position was clear, that they just weren't focusing on the Vita or handhelds anymore, for that matter.
Yeah, that's because that's the second time they screwed up on a handheld, which is kind of sad.
Well, no, the PSP did pretty well, considering.
Yeah, because people bought it so they can use it to hack other stuff.
Let's see, I debate...
Hardware sales were great. Software sales, not so much.
I debate the idea that the PlayStation Vita is not as successful as expected because of smartphones. I mean, it's just like with home consoles and smartphones. It's a very different experience. You don't get the same experience that you get on a specialized device like a handheld console that you get on, for example, an iPhone or an iPad. It doesn't matter how big the screen is. Frankly, I mean, the 3DS is a testament to that. Look at how successful the 3DS is. It seems largely unaffected by the smartphone market, and quite frankly, it's far less powerful and less capable than the Vita ever is. The Vita is a much more powerful device. So I'm not sure I buy that the smartphone market is what's crippling the Vita right now. Rather, I think it's Sony that's crippling the Vita in a number of different ways. For example, I've been going on and on since RDGH. I've been going on about the storage on the device. Sony loves having proprietary storage, and that, when the proprietary storage is cheap, fine. But when it adds another $70 to $100 to the device, to the cost of the device, just to get a decent size, you've got problems. So if you're spending $200 on a new PlayStation Vita and you have to spend another $70 just for storage so you can get a freaking game on it, that's a problem, and that's going to keep people from buying the device. There's also the fact that there was not nearly as much software as expected. People did not just grab onto it like they'd hoped. So I actually think that that's also partly Sony's fault. Just because Sony has a history of not being able to sell its ideas to those who could make software for it. So I think that Sony is the Vita's worst enemy, not smartphones. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I 100% agree with you on the memory card stuff. I think that's the biggest reason why it's failed, in my opinion. The memory card stuff is just too ridiculous to even comprehend. But as far as selling the system, I think they've sold it pretty well to the Japanese developers, but not to any other markets. I mean, pretty much the only games coming out for Vita nowadays are indies and titles made in Japan. So, I don't know.
Have you seen any rather standout indies or Japanese titles that might make the Vita worth paying for?
Well, there are, but the problem with the standout indie titles is that they're also cross-buy and cross-play sometimes with the PS4 and PS3. Games like Shovel Knight and Rogue Legacy, those games all can be played on the other systems. Lone Survivor. Almost every game that comes out on the Vita as an indie title also comes out on the PS4 and the PS3 as well. So technically it's not really helping it as much.
I think the last truly worthwhile title that came out for the Vita was Tearaway. Tearaway by Media Molecule. Media Molecule is the studio behind Little Big Planet. That was probably one of the best, at least Western titles that the PlayStation Vita has ever gotten. And since then, just not that much for it. But I think what it did prove is that if you have the right software, people will want to buy the hardware. I mean, that's been the case for the Wii U. Look at the Wii U. For a long time, it had nothing coming out for it, and sales sucked. And ever since we've finally gotten some good titles out for it, we've got Super Smash Brothers, we've got some Zelda, some Mario Kart. Now, Wii U sales are doing much better. I mean, not nearly what the original Wii did, but still much better. So
I was actually going to use the 3DS as an example, because up until I want to say early 2013, even the 3DS, it was improving, but it still wasn't really shipping like Nintendo had hoped. It wasn't until games like Donkey Kong Country Returns 3D, Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon, oh my god, I'm having a hard time. Huh?
Ocarina of Time?
Yes. No. Ocarina of Time was a starting one. Tomodachi Life came out last year. I'm thinking of Animal Crossing. Thank you. There it is, Animal Crossing. Until all of these compelling software titles came out, not many people bought the 3DS. 2013 was the year the 3DS just had an amazing year because they released compelling title after compelling title, and it got people interested in buying the hardware. And I think that was the biggest failing of the Vita, is that it had some good titles, but it didn't have that many. It seemed like Sony didn't really have that much faith in the Vita in terms of gameplay, I mean.
I think Sony doesn't have a lot of faith in a lot of things it does, quite frankly. Because Sony is like the king of just flopped technology. Not because the technology was bad, not because the technology didn't have potential, but because Sony just didn't follow through on it. For example, PlayStation Move. PlayStation Move came out, and it was better than the technology that was in the Wii. It was more precise. It was more expensive, but it was more precise, and you could do more with it. Whereas the Wii one, you had to buy that little extra attachment, the Motion Plus, to get similar precision on it. So it had something there, and not only that, but it was PlayStation. It had a technically more powerful console behind it. So the idea was, hey, here's the similar technology except stronger on a stronger device with a huge array of possible developers for it. And they didn't do anything with it. I've cited this before. I got so upset when, I think was it E3 2011 when they announced the Move? something like that. They had one of those NBA games out there, and they had someone with a Move controller to demonstrate how Move would work with the NBA basketball game. And, you know, you can't dribble, you can't shoot, you can't pass. You know, there's very little actual motion with the game. You sit there with the Move controller in your hand and you point it at the TV like your TV's remote control, and you just press the button. Why even bother? Why even bother? The only game that even tried to use the Move to its full capacity was Sorcery. And that game, for one, it was delayed to heck. It was barely promoted, and when it finally came out, it underwhelmed. There was nothing there. And Sony is just repeatedly, look at PlayStation Home, look at, the Vita in a way. The Vita's been fairly successful, but the Vita in a way. I mean, Sony's just not good at promoting its ideas.
Home was pretty successful for when it came out.
What, the Move?
No, you said about PlayStation Home.
Oh, PlayStation Home.
I'd say PlayStation Home was pretty decent. It wasn't pro'd enough, but it still had quite a lot of people that used it.
It had potential to go further than it did. It had the potential to go much further than it did, but Sony gave up on it.
Trust me, there were so many features that didn't get. Home it was so big behind the scenes. It was so much fun. I mean, I still used to remember the whole beta test where we'd play the Quake simulator on the Home. There was like a first-person shooter that beta testers could access. It was so much fun.
There were good parts of Home. I'm not denying that at all. I was in Home for a little while. It's completely dead now, right? They completely got rid of it.
Yeah, the servers got shut down, which makes me sad a bit.
Right. Which sucks, especially because that's a world where people have continuously invested money. So that kind of sucks.
Real money.
Real money. So, I mean, I just wish that Sony would not be so quick to give up on its technology. I wish they would really sell the stuff properly, because if they did, goodness, we could be living in a different world of gaming right now. Because Sony's ideas, some of them are actually really good, but they just don't go where they could. Anyway, I'm talking too much. Let me say this. If there were to be a new PlayStation Vita, what are the chances that Sony might actually consider going for something like a micro SD card for storage instead of its proprietary hardware?
They would have to. And like, unless they can make it really cheap, there is really no point in even trying to do proprietary software. I mean, they've learned from their mistakes with the PS3 and made the PS4 obviously more successful than that. But, you know, they had their problems with the PSP with all the hacking issues and all that. So they tried to fight that, and it didn't work out for them this way. You know, the problem with the PSP was that, you know, it used the micro SD cards. I believe it was the micro SD cards. And that was one of the biggest reasons why all the hacking was going on with the Vita, is because of those memory cards. So they went with a proprietary software memory card to stop that from happening, but it still happened. The Vita still gets hacked, not as much, but it still does.
So the 3DS, however, actually uses not a micro SD card, I believe, but a full SD card. So
yeah.
What?
But you can pirate.
Actually, the new 3DSs use a micro SD card.
The new 3DSs use micro SD technology, which it's a real pain to get into because you have to like open up the panel and remove like the old one and put in a higher one if you want to do that. But yes, it's different from the original 3DS in that regard.
So
what is stopping hacking from becoming such a big issue for the 3DS?
There is. You can now get pirated 3DS software. So it is a thing now. Those hackers have also stopped region lock as well. You can now region free your 3DS if you want to.
Wasn't there a game that came out that you can actually turn into like a home brewer? I heard of. There was
was Cubic Ninja, I think it was called, or something.
Yes, that was it. Mm-hmm.
By using that, you could break your 3DS and use homebrew, pirated games. Hence why that got into #1 at Amazon at one point.
I think Nintendo came because Nintendo constantly updates the firmware, so I don't know if that's still a thing though.
Yeah, but you just don't download the update.
That's true.
Of course, we're not condoning piracy. We think it's bad.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it.
Well, I mean,
I would do it.
Not downloading the update could be possibly combated by basically making the console useless if you don't have the update.
Well, they do. They'd have to have the update on the future games. But if you're using it to play retro games, like a lot of people who do pirating do, they use it just to homebrew all their emulators for some reason. Then they couldn't really combat that. They'd just be able to stop people from doing new games until.
Are you talking about game updates or firmware updates?
Well, a lot of games, especially handheld, will have the firmware on the actual cartridge.
Yeah, you'll have to update the firmware in order to play the game.
Yeah. So that way, those people who can't get the internet and need the firmware update to play the game, because the firmware update might add features or lower resource usage.
No, I'm not talking about firmware in conjunction with a game. I'm saying, you turn the 3DS on, it immediately checks for a firmware update, and if you don't have the most current update, you basically can't do anything.
But how would you do that unless you have internet access on your 3DS?
Well, you'd need to have internet access on your 3DS.
But what if you don't have internet access and that's what I said, people could easily do it by being offline.
If you don't have internet access, then what method would you use to pirate the old games anyway?
Well, that's what I mean. What they might have internet access in their home, but they might not connect their 3DS to their network.
Yeah, there's a WLAN switch on the side of the 3DS device.
Yeah, you can just turn that off.
I'm actually not following, believe it or not. I'm confused because I'm trying to picture what way they would pirate games without using the internet. And you're saying, well, what you just told me was they'll just turn the internet off.
You download it. Basically, you download it on your PC, then you put the game on a SD card on your PC, and then put the SD card in your 3DS.
Okay.
You don't have to be on the internet on your 3DS to play the game or download them. You download them on your laptop or PC or any other hardware. And then you put it in your 3DS, and then it boots it up.
Just don't expect to actually use your 3DS for Nintendo games after that point.
Yeah.
No.
Because you'll be in a lot of trouble.
I'm almost not sure if we should keep this part of the podcast. We're like telling
we didn't
people
say how it's done.
We're telling people how to hack their consoles.
I mean, dude, in the post-editing process, you could take that bit out, but yeah,
we didn't tell them it's step by step. Come on, they need to look online to do anything. And even if they did, it's too much hassle. Why bother? I'm not going to hack my 3DS. My 3DS is amazing.
You can play it safe and keep it out. It doesn't matter.
It has Pokemon in it, and that's all I play.
I actually haven't touched my 3DS in a while.
I played the last Pokemon game, Omega Ruby and Sapphire. Probably won't touch my 3DS again until the next Pokemon game.
I've been playing Final Fantasy X.
Oh, nice.
The one that you gave me for my birthday last year.
Yay!
Yeah,
I finally got to play Majora's Mask.
Oh, how is it?
It looks gorgeous on this game. I've never actually played Majora's Mask before. That was one of the things that always kind of like got me. It's one of those games where like, damn it, I wish I played it. So now it's my first. Now I get my chance on the 3DS.
I probably won't be playing it because I'm not gonna spend a couple $100 on a new 3DS right now.
Well, I think that one works on the normal 3DS. You don't need the new 3DS for Majora's Mask.
Really? I thought that was one of the exclusive ones for the new 3DS.
No, that's Sony's Xenoblade.
Xenoblade Chronicles.
Yeah, Xenoblade Chronicles 3D.
Oh, okay. I read somewhere that Majora's Mask was part of that.
Majora's Mask just has like the fact that you can use the second analog stick for the camera.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it has features. Just like Smash Brothers has features that work with the new 3DS.
Isn't the feature pretty much just Amiibo Sport?
Yeah. It's the Amiibos and the what is it, the quick smash attacks. So you can use the stick to do like instead of like charging it up by holding a button, you could just use the stick to do a quick smash attack.
So you can cheat online. Cheating!
Essentially, yeah.
Okay, guys. What to do? What to do? I've got all these tabs open with stuff that we can talk about.
Well, grab one.
Grab
one
one.
of them. Pick one of them at random.
Okay.
One that involves goats.
A little while before, when ID at Xbox was first announced, that's Microsoft's independent developer. I don't know why I'm so tongue-tied today. Something's wrong with me.
You're just excited to see me. You're like, oh my god, Chili's in the chat. Can't handle it now.
Chili's in the chat. ID at Xbox was announced, and very quickly there was controversy because of a certain parity clause. Pedro, are you familiar with this?
Maybe. Read it to me.
Read what?
Oh, the parody. I thought you said parody clause.
There is a
I'm not
parity
sure.
clause. I don't have the text of the parity clause here, but
I can tell you it, if I'm rightly.
okay, go for it.
Yeah.
A game cannot be released on previous consoles if it has exclusive content. It has to be around the same time, if I'm rightly, or something like that. It has to be, the game has to be on all consoles at the same time, or it can't be released on the console,
So,
or at least close to it. Can't be. It's got to be like in the first few weeks, I think. There's no, if it's like 3 months ahead, it can't be released.
yeah, a game must be released on
Xbox
Xbox first, or on Xbox alongside other consoles. It cannot be released on, for example, PlayStation first, and then go up to Xbox. That immediately got a bunch of controversy. However, according to a developer, Grip Games, his name, the guy who's talking, his name is Jakub Mikiska. I don't know how to say that name, but I gave it a good shot. He told Gaming Bolt that Sony actually has its own set of parity policies. He didn't say exactly what they were, but here's the quote. Both Sony and Microsoft have their own policies and things you have to keep in order to be able to self-publish. Sony has certain parity policies as well. He also said that the policies that Microsoft has are not unfair, and if developers actually talk to Microsoft about them, things can be worked out and agreed upon. Here's another quote. He said, I think Microsoft's requirements are not unreasonable, are quite understandable, and what's more, if you cannot keep them for any reason, you usually just need to ask and give a good reason and anything can be agreed on. We never really had any issue with Microsoft policies. So that probably means, hey, there's a lot more to this policy thing, to this parity clause thing, than anybody ever really gave it credit for. Pedro, now that Ben has kind of explained more of it, are you familiar with this?
No, actually. I'm going to be honest. This is kind of the first I've kind of heard of it.
Well, what do you think of this parity clause?
Well, judging by what people think of, what some people are saying about it, there's just really not enough. Maybe there's some intention that we just don't know about. On the first hand, you've got them saying that, if it doesn't come to Microsoft first, or if it doesn't come out for the others, you can't self-publish, and that does seem kind of unfair. But at the same time, I guess it's a sort of way to prevent, I don't know, other timed exclusives from indies to end up on other consoles first and Microsoft. I really don't know how I feel about it, to be honest.
Originally, a lot of gamers felt that, Microsoft was trying to cheat the system, Microsoft was being selfish, this was bad for the gamers, it's anti-consumerism. To tell the truth, since then, I really haven't heard any developers complain about it. And developers have complained a lot at Microsoft. I believe Phil Fish was one of the big ones. I think he was behind Fez, the game Fez. He was talking about how, Microsoft is terrible to work with if you're an indie developer. There's huge fees for everything. Since ID at Xbox came about, and after, I guess, the internet gamers decided to complain about the parity clause thing, and myself included, I was pretty hard on the parity clause. To be honest, I don't think I've heard anything bad about Microsoft from the developers. Granted, I haven't searched, but nothing's really come to the surface. What do you guys think at this point? Do you agree with Mr. Jakub Mikishka on that these policies really are not that unfair?
From what I heard, not many companies did have issues. I think the only one that's had any issues with it at all was Just Add Water. I think they had some issues with the Plary cores at one point. That's why the Xbox version of the Abe's Odyssey HD remake, it's new and tasty, that almost got cancelled at one point because issues with the parity clause. But I think they smoothed everything out with Microsoft and it's coming out soon, if I'm rightly.
Okay.
But yeah, that's the only company I know that had any issues with it.
Well,
Which, considering the fact it's been a year and a half, that's quite good.
to my knowledge, the parity clause is still in effect. Nothing's changed. And it doesn't sound like there are that many problems. Some of the indies there, I believe Ori and the Blind Forest is an indie game, yes? That's not a AAA game at all, but it's an amazing game by Moon Studios. And that's exclusive. It's using ID at Xbox. And so
it's published by Microsoft, so...
Yeah, Microsoft published it too. So,
Yeah.
no, it's not using ID at Xbox. That's right. I forgot Microsoft is publishing it. I wish I had like a list of the games that Microsoft is helping to publish, because they do with some and then they don't with others, and it's confusing. Although Sony's the same way. So I guess now we should probably start wondering what exactly are Sony's parity policies. Be careful about criticizing them, because obviously there has not been a single problem, and Sony's kept them pretty quiet. But I kind of can't help but wonder what they might be. What do you have to do? What do you have to watch out for in order to keep your games on PlayStation's networks?
Yeah.
I think there's like a 6 months policy.
A 6 months for what?
Timed exclusivity.
Okay.
If it's a pub-funded game, pub-funded, Sony funds it. Sony funds the publisher of it. I think it's a 6 months clause, if I'm rightly, where it should be exclusive to Sony platforms. But after that 6 months, you're allowed to publish any way you want, and you can use the money you made to fund the ports as well. I could be wrong about this, but I heard this a while back. So.
Okay. Well, we'll keep our eyes open. If you guys know anything about the parity policies for Sony or Microsoft, just send us a quick tweet at 4G only, number 4, and we will discuss them next week. I mean, I can't help but wonder about this. All this stuff, I figured that the way I work is once I've kind of gotten into something, I'll enjoy it for a while, and then all of a sudden I'm very interested in how it works behind the scenes. And so this kind of thing's starting to really interest me.
It's interesting seeing it right now. Like you talk about the parity clause, and we're seeing some indie titles coming out right now on Xbox that were exclusive to other consoles before. And I think the difference between what ones show up and what ones don't is how popular and how much money they made. If you look at a game like Shovel Knight just released, it's coming to Xbox as well, but it was a Wii U title exclusively at first. So I think it kind of really depends on which games Microsoft allows for something like this to happen, or you can release on another console and then later on bring it over if it's popular enough and it makes enough money.
Another thing to consider too is what Microsoft might be like, what content that's Microsoft exclusive that might be part of an indie port. Like take Shovel Knight for example. With the Xbox One port of Shovel Knight, they have the Battletoads featured in it as playable characters. So if they can work out something like that and say, okay, well, all right, your game came out on other consoles first, but maybe if you put like a Halo reference in there, somewhere, or do something like that, and just show off like stuff that can only be on an Xbox console, we can reconsider our position on your title.
Yeah, exactly. Like we have No Man's Sky coming out, That's technically an indie title, even though it looks like a AAA title. But it's coming out on PS4 first. But we know it's also going to be coming out on Xbox in the future.
That's because Sony's funding it.
If Sony's funding it, why would they release it on a different console?
Because Sony's only funding the developer. Just like it's a pub fund, so anything they make with the profit, they're happy to. Sony is happy for them to pour it over, because Sony's only just helping them, get off the ground after those floods. Remember, the studio flooded twice.
I don't know about that, Ben. I don't know if Sony's giving them money. That's pretty much saying that Street Fighter V can come to Xbox, even though Sony's...
Well, it could. You did hear about that, right?
But Sony's co-developing it. Their name's in there.
Before that happened, Capcom did go to Microsoft and ask if they could port it over to the Xbox, but Microsoft declined it because of the whole cross-platform play. That's why it ended up as a Sony exclusive, because Microsoft didn't want it.
I think if that would have happened, Sony would not have helped them make that game.
Yeah. Oh no, they wouldn't have helped, but that's why it happened.
If they wouldn't have helped, that game will not be in existence right now.
It'll be interesting to see, because Capcom did say Sony offered to help even with that. So
I also think like Microsoft is trying to get like Killer Instinct to compete with like Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter. So
I don't know.
Speaking. Oh, sorry.
It's all weird to me right now. I just don't see if a company like Microsoft or Nintendo or Sony helps pay to build the game, I don't see why they would want it to come out on another console.
Well, if they're not funding the whole game and they're just funding little bits of it.
I don't know.
6 months exclusivity, a lot of the people that are going to purchase the game would have purchased it on your console. They wouldn't going to wait 6 months. Only people that don't have, that don't want to, they'll get most of the sales in that 6 months.
Well, we'll see. I haven't seen a game like that come out yet.
Yeah.
On other consoles. So when I see that, then I'll see about agreeing with that. But right now, I just haven't seen it. If one of these big three developers funded a game in some capacity, I haven't seen it come out on another console except for the one that was slated to release for.
Okay, guys. Pedro.
Yes.
Last week, we were going to get to something, but I apologize. With all my notes and stuff being all crazy, we did not get to it. You wanted to talk about Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, they got a couple of... There was a couple of issues that stirred up a little bit of controversy, a little bit of confusion as well. Like one of which was the you basically can pay for easy fatalities at the end of a fight, which a lot of people are. Some people are upset about it. Some people are relieved about it. I've played Mortal Kombat 9 and Mortal Kombat X, and the fatalities aren't really that hard to pull off, especially considering how ridiculous it was to pull off on like the Super Nintendo days. But this idea of like paying for like an easier fatality didn't strike well with a lot of people. They also said that you don't have to pay for them, but you can unlock them through in-game coins within the games if you do like challenges and stuff like that. So, I just wanted your guys' opinion on how you felt about that.
I think that any paid DLC that has an impact on the game, that makes it easier for some people to win, is a bad idea, because that wrecks the balance of the game. If you are playing a game and, some other guy can just beat the crap out of you just because he paid $10 more, that's a problem. And I'm not saying that that's what's happening here, because frankly I haven't played Mortal Kombat all that once. It sounds like that's what you're talking about here, and making the fatality.
Not really. A fatality is after you've beaten the match. You've actually beaten him to a pulp already. You're just finishing him off in like the end of the fight.
Okay, so it's just cosmetic.
Yeah, cosmetic, pretty much.
Cosmetic.
If it's cosmetic, then I don't have a problem with it. But if it's something that affects the game, yeah, that's a big problem. If it's just cosmetic, if it's just a decoration, something that's not really that consequential, then I guess I'm also talking from a bit of naivety, from not understanding the game and what exactly fatalities are supposed to be.
Basically, an over-the-top kill. Like,
So
I
just
don't
a
think I would
little-
describe it here.
Yeah.
It's so bad.
Most of
I
the
think
times when you
someone's
win a
flying
match-
out,
Yeah.
What
blowing
were,
up their head with your laser eye.
what were you saying, Pedro?
In most of the matches, after you beat your opponent, they go like finish him, and then you like, you can
Press
either
up,
knock
down,
them out,
back,
or
left, right,
kill-
BA swap.
yeah, or if you do a combo, you can kill them like in really gruesome ways. So, but in order to do that, you have to do like certain combinations. What the easy fatality essentially does is just makes it easy, like down X or something, So it gets people who have a little bit more frustration trying to get pull those fatalities off to do it, but they essentially have you like pay for an easier way to do it.
So are these fatalities things that both people see? Or
Yes.
is it just something that you see?
No, it should be something that both people see. Like if you're playing online, you can see like the other player tear your character up.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's a little different then, isn't it? Because it's one thing if it's just something that you can see, if it's just something that affects you, but if it's something that other people can see and other people have a hard time doing, I mean, it's not necessary, it's not a big thing to a game, so I don't see why it would be such a big deal, but I can understand why that would be frustrating for people. I can understand why, if I'm sitting here trying to pull off a fatality with some complicated array of buttons and I'm having a lot of trouble doing it, and this other dude comes in and hits down X and gets it in one go, I can understand how that would be frustrating.
Yeah. Well, the other issue that caused like a lot of like a bit of a stir and somewhat anger and like that isn't exactly clear on is that it seems like some of the characters are actually already loaded on the disc that are meant to be like downloadable content. Like some of them are actually locked on the disc already. You're essentially just paying for a code to unlock the character within the disc. I think that's what some people were a little upset about, and it's not exactly clear what exactly is locked on the disc. Like, is it certain characters? Is it whole campaign? Well, not campaigns, but modes and stuff like that. I'm not entirely sure. A lot of the stuff that I've read said like some conflicting stuff.
I'm gonna say that it's probably dummy data already on the disc. A lot of games put dummy data where it's it'll be the model of the character, but it won't have animations, it won't have moves, it won't have any AI, it won't have anything like that. It's just so that there's a placeholder for when the DLC is actually finished, they can just sort of override the data with the new data, and bam. It's not too much of an issue. It's just like little placeholders.
Yeah, see, well, that would make sense then. That wouldn't be a problem. But I was reading some that said like hackers were able to like unlock characters by using a code and stuff like that, and that the characters were playable and stuff like that, like Goro or something. But like I said, it's
well, Goro's pre-order, isn't he? So of course,
yeah, I suppose that could make sense. Yeah.
On that, the characters that the hackers unlocked were characters that appear in the story that you don't get in the game. Like Sindel and Baraka. Like, those characters appear in the game, but they're not playable in any way.
You fight against them, though.
Yeah, you fight against them, but they're not part of any of the characters you unlock.
Well, then all they're doing is they're just pulling out the moves from the actual game's NPC list, and then just making it playable, pretty much.
See, and that's where all the confusion was coming from, because I'm reading all these articles and they're saying like different things, so I wasn't entirely sure. I was actually very hesitant to bring it up because I'm like, is this a real thing?
I haven't really looked into it, but that's just off previous sort of
pulling what was it, Street Fighter Cross Tekken with characters already on the disc.
Yeah, I think it's something you'll have to wait and see until the first character comes out. If when Jason Voorhees comes out this Tuesday, I
it's
believe
2 kilobytes.
and it's like 1 megabyte or something, then it's definitely on the disc.
Yeah.
Well,
it just depends on how big it's going to be.
I do find a little confusion because whether you're paying for DLC that's already locked on the disc for some reason, or it's something that you actually have to download, I mean, the biggest concern that I would have with that is security. I think hackers become kind of a buzzword. I think right now society thinks that anyone who performs a crime over the internet is considered a hacker, which is just not true. But everyone's concerned that, people are going to be able to unlock parts of the game. And, that aside, let's say that can be addressed in another way. And it's not going to be an issue once the game is... the game's already out. What am I talking about? Say that's not going to be an issue. I don't really understand why it matters whether or not the content is already on the disc.
Well, I could tell you why. It sets a sort of dangerous precedent because here you have developers making games, and what's to stop a developer from saying, "Well, we have a full part of the game, right? But we really want to make some more DLC content, so why don't we just take this part of the game and lock it off later on and just say it's DLC?" It sets a precedent for like certain developers to kind of milk you for all the cash you have.
See, I don't think that this is the precedent though, because Bungie already did that with Destiny. Well, no, let me rephrase. Activision already did that with Destiny. Like, Bungie made this game, and Activision took it, and it did not need to put anything on the disc at all. It, you know, to my knowledge, House of Wolves and the previous DLC that came out for Destiny, that was not already on the disc, but it was in the plans, it was in the workings, it wasn't released yet, but it was there. And they still, from what I understand, kept those parts out of the initial release so that they could be released later as DLC.
A lot of it was on the disc. I showed Garri some of the areas.
Yeah, some of the areas were on the disc, but not the actual content, not the actual story, the actual big parts. It's just that the map was already built for it.
Yeah.
It just like you have to like almost stop like sometimes in like this age where now we're starting to see like microtransactions in every game, the free to play model minus the free part. You know, are you really paying for $60 worth of gameplay, or is it really a $60 game that's been cut into pieces for later on use to get additional funding via DLC?
Okay, well, let me say here, I'm actually having trouble figuring out whether or not it's actually true that there's on-disc stuff. Around my birthday, April 15th, I think, Gaming Bolt actually released an article confirming that there was on-disc DLC, only to update that later with an apology to the director of the game, saying, well, our initial research actually was not concrete evidence of on-disc DLC. So, right now, I'm not sure that everyone's 100% positive that there's on-disc DLC locked on the disc.
And that's why I said that it's kind of conflicting. You know, I don't know for sure if that was the case. It probably isn't. You know, maybe it was just a misunderstanding. But you know, you can see why gamers can kind of be on edge about that, because that's kind of the mentality behind it. You know, it's like, if this is locked, what's to stop somebody from locking up other parts that weren't meant to be locked in the first place?
But
you know?
But the thing is, like I was saying, they don't need the content locked on the disc in order to do that. I mean, that's something that's already happened with Destiny. This has nothing to do with that. It can happen whether stuff's already on the disc or whether it's not on the disc, whether it's just in the works and in the plans. However, I also think that there's a little more to it, because the most recent controversy with DLC came from Evolve. Are you how familiar are you with Evolve, guys?
Evolve.
Yeah.
Is that a good sound or a bad sound, Ben?
Bad sound. Bad sound.
I have heard all sorts of different things about Evolve. I've heard that it's a good game. I've heard that it's a really bad game. I've heard that the community sucks. I heard that doesn't matter because it's a lot of fun. Which I have experience with League of Legends, which just drives me nuts sometimes. But that aside, the director and executive producer of the game, the director's Ed Boon, the exec producer is Sean Hemerick. They were on Twitter kind of defending the decision. People were saying, oh, well, only games with a poor roster need guest characters. Mortal Kombat doesn't need that. And Ed Boon said simply, wrong. But the thing is, and I'm looking at Crave Online as I say this, and Crave says, well, gamers right now are really sensitive to DLC, and it's really all because of Evolve. There's been a lot of, I guess, pressure over from Turtle Rock, the developer of Evolve, and just the way that they're handling the DLC, I think, is not really that great. However, what they're doing here is pretty similar to Mortal Kombat 9. The DLC in question seems to be 4 characters, and it's $30, I believe?
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Okay. But
yeah, it's $30 for 4 characters.
It's
Yes.
$30 for 4 characters, but Mortal Kombat 9 had $25 of DLC, and it was also 4 characters and 7 skins. So, here you have 4 characters plus the 7 skins plus 8 skins after that, and it's $30. It's really comparable to last game's DLC. However, the last game's DLC really didn't get much controversy at all.
I think the big thing here is the licensing of the characters they're using, because Warner Brothers doesn't own Jason Voorhees or Predator. That's owned by 20th Century Fox. So I'm assuming they had to pay a lot of money to get those 2 characters, and I think that's why they had the bump in the price there.
That makes sense to me. Yeah.
Sure, but I guess what I'm confused about is, if this is consistently priced, there's a $5 difference. This one is $5 more expensive. The last one, you get 4 characters and 7 skins. This one, you get 4 characters and 15 skins for the $5 difference. Why is there such controversy around this one, and no controversy around the last one?
Probably because of what you just said. It's because all these titles have all these DLCs now coming out that I think people are actually getting tired of seeing. Like you said, I think that the biggest thing that started it, in my opinion, was what happened with Evolve, and the fact that they announced if you pre-order, you get this, new monster to play as and fight against, which pretty much says that this monster is done and finished and ready to go, but they elected to not put her in the game and just have you pre-order the game instead to get it. Or you can buy it for, I think it was like $10. You can buy that one.
I thought it was more than $10.
$15. It was $15, wasn't it?
Yeah, $15.
Yeah, for this one extra monster, you can pay like that if you want, if you didn't pre-order the game. And then you had the season pass, which was $25, which got you all the stuff, but it didn't give you everything. There's stuff that they released also that you still had to pay because it wasn't included in the season pass.
Right, so you have, for Evolve, you have several different packs. You have the season pass, which doesn't even give you everything for the season, and then you have like another pack coming with the monster. That's you said $15?
Yeah.
Yeah, the one monster that you would get unless you pre-order the game.
So let me ask this. Say that there was no controversy around Evolve's DLC. They say that Evolve took their DLC, priced it fairly, put it in the game fairly, no issues with Evolve. Do you think that Mortal Kombat 10 would still be getting this kind of reaction for its current DLC pack?
No, because then we go back to Destiny, because Destiny had a lot of controversy over the Dark Below, which had barely any content in it for the price that they charged it for.
That's true. Destiny has been... Let me be honest. I used to love Destiny, but I got burned out on that game pretty quickly. I
heard there was a lot of grinding involved in that,
I never noticed a lot of grinding.
No, there's not much grinding. It's not... No, it's not much grinding at all. Just all of it.
All you do is grind in that game. What are you talking about?
Shh, Garri.
I mean... Yeah, I guess it is.
There's no grinding, just all of it.
Oh man!
Goodness.
No, as far as can I just go back to the fatality thing?
No.
No. Okay.
Okay. No. Go
ahead. No, I was just gonna say that the fatality thing, I think, as a microtransaction, it's one of those things where it's already in the game if you unlock it if you want, but this is like if you want to skip ahead and not unlock it, is what it is. What a lot of people also don't understand about it is, and I think this is what really pissed a lot of people off the most, is that the 30 fatalities that you get, the easy fatalities, they were one-time use. So once you used the easy fatality 30 times, you would have to rebuy that pack again.
Wow.
And it was $4.99 for it, and that's what really pissed a lot of people off. That pack is not available online anymore. They pulled that. You can't buy that anymore.
Oh,
the Easy Fatalities isn't available anymore. Another one that people were upset about was you can pay $20 as microtransactions and just unlock everything in the game for an extra $20.
Because
you don't,
who wants to play games?
yeah, you don't have to do anything because everything just unlocks if you pay an extra $20. That is what you can be pissed off about if you want to talk about, gameplay cheating wise.
I want Mortal Kombat 11 to come with a $30 pack where I can buy the trophies.
$15 you can
might not be
beat
that
the
far.
game.
Whoa, that was a mess. What'd you say, Pedro?
Is it $15 you can automatically beat the game?
There you go.
For $20 you can get a platinum.
That's all you need.
I wouldn't be surprised if that's coming, but I also feel like it's just one of those things. Like, if you want to spend the money on it, go for it. If you don't, more power to you. I personally think if you spend an extra $20 to unlock everything in the game, you're just lazy, and I didn't even know why you bought the game in the first place.
I'm so happy I didn't buy that game because I probably have paid it.
Yeah, how much have you spent on Warframe, Ben?
About £450, nearly £500, so about $800.
My goodness, man. You could have bought...
Ben is single-handedly funding every update.
So, I mean...
A Ben update.
Here's what concerns me now. Actually, here's what concerns all of us now. I think what's clear to me is that this is having an effect on us now. It's having an effect on the future. DLC is actually something that's pretty new to the gaming industry. First appeared during this past generation. Now that the consoles are a lot more internet connected, now that developers can actually change things with the game after they're actually released, and also now that they're realizing that stores like GameStop are not going anywhere and people can buy used games, and now there's pressure to figure out, okay, how can we now make more money? There's money kind of coming out of our pockets because people are buying games used. How can, how can we make that back without negatively affecting the industry? All of this is coming to things like this, coming to developers, companies, publishers experimenting with different ways to make money. And I think one thing that they are learning really quickly here is that people do not like being taken advantage of. Or at least people do not like to know that they are being taken advantage of. Ignorance is bliss. Let's put it that way, because I think that that's what it might end up as anyway. But we're probably going to see some more of this. We probably will. We've started to see it with Destiny. We're seeing it with Evolve. We're seeing it with Mortal Kombat. I can feel these guys being like, okay, we're releasing this game. How do we now make our income from this game sustainable? How do we continue to make money from this game now that it's out there? And I can see far more experimentation coming along until something is reached. But in the meantime, these events have really put DLC under heavy scrutiny by gamers. Gamers are noticing, hey, you're taking advantage of us. And guess what? They don't like that. Surprise, surprise. So, that's for the developers. Surprise! Imagine that. People don't like being taken advantage of. But,
I want to send this picture to you guys really quickly. This pretty much sums up the future right here. When you get this image,
Garri,
you get down.
You know that we're on audio only, right?
Yes, I'm sending it to you.
It's okay. They can see where there is.
People
People can do that now.
These people cannot see what you're sending me. It looks like I see a bunch of Mona Lisas. Okay.
Yes.
I'll do me a favor, Garri. Tweet that. Can you tweet that? Use our Twitter and send that out as a tweet.
Tweet that? Yeah.
Okay.
Tweet it
Next
on
gen
our
is called Chili Gen.
Chili. Tweet that on our It's actually a rather funny image. We'll put it on Twitter for you. So that's what we're looking at. DLC's under heavy scrutiny. I think that companies might be nervous eventually to make moves with DLC because of the scrutiny, but eventually we're going to have to find some level ground with it. I'm sorry, Pedro, I cut you off. What were you saying?
Oh, no, I was just looking at the image. I was chuckling. Sorry.
Oh, you were chuckling. Okay. Your chuckling sounds suspiciously like being about to say something, just so you know. Just so you know.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Okay, guys. Sorry, that's me drinking water. Hydration equals happiness.
Never again.
How dare you drink water?
Sorry for needing to stay alive, guys. My bad.
Stop being human.
My bad. Let's talk companies. Speaking of Sony, And a lot of people bring up Sony, and not PlayStation, but Sony, and how Sony's doing financially as a way to put down PlayStation. Let's be real. PlayStation is successful. Period. It does not matter. Well, no, it matters. But as far as PlayStation's success or failure, it doesn't matter what Sony's doing. PlayStation is successful. Sony could cut out every single other thing it is doing and focus on it can just be the PlayStation company. It can be like Nintendo, which only does video game consoles, and it would still be successful because PlayStation's successful. And I say that, take that with a grain of salt, because it's expensive to drop all of your stuff. So, but anyway, all of this is leading to this. Sony's posted a expectation of losing $2.1 billion for this current fiscal year. That is pretty huge. That is the most it has been plunging in 3 years since Tokyo, I believe. It's widened its net loss forecast. It's not going to pay an annual dividend for the first time since its 1958 listing. Shares have gone down as much as 13%. That's the biggest drop since March 2011. And this is happening because it's writing down the value of its smartphone business. So that's not very good for Sony. I mean, PlayStation's still doing fantastic. I think in 2014 it made a good $6 billion in revenue. And before you celebrate, there's a difference between revenue and profit. Revenue is what you make before you pay the bills. Profit's what you put in your pocket once the bills are paid. $6.6 billion in revenue is fantastic. PlayStation's a good success. However, $2.1 billion loss for Sony isn't that great, but it's not going to cripple the company. So, I mean, if it was going to cripple the company, they wouldn't bother doing it. They're doing this because they're killing their smartphone business right now. So, there it is. Meanwhile, people love pointing out, the fanboys love pointing out, that Microsoft is a rich company, which is great, but it has absolutely nothing to do with Xbox, the success or failure of Xbox. Guys, what do you make of all of this? What is going on with Sony? It used to be such a great company.
Apple. That's all I can say.
Apple. Well, I mean, it's not just Apple, because it shuttered its VAIO, the computers. It's no longer making computers. Its cameras are not matching up with Canon or Nikon. Those are currently the top two. The big two, Canon and Nikon. Sony's somewhere below. It still does a lot of great stuff for businesses. Some professional cameras, professional speakers, corporate grade things. But on the consumer level, it's not doing all of that much outside of PlayStation. I actually happen to like the Xperia. I believe it was actually the first smartphone to be waterproof. I may be wrong, but it's the first one that I heard about anyway that was waterproof.
It was the first proper one, yeah.
It was the first one.
Xperia Z.
So, yeah, it was. Yeah, the Z and the Z1, or the Z, excuse me, and the Z1. So, oh, Gary's back. I didn't realize he left. Welcome back, Gary. So, so that's what's going on here with Sony. So Apple,
Yeah, I mean, you know, with the iPhone taking business away from stuff like the Walkman, which I actually thought I read somewhere that they were going to bring that back as an MP3 player. But
it should not do that. That's a terrible idea. That's a terrible idea.
Well, supposedly it's like a new MP3 player. It just has Walkman in name, just the name.
That's still a terrible idea. Listen, I have nothing wrong with Walkman. I had a Sony Walkman phone, the W580i, before I got my first iPhone. I liked Walkman. I think it's a bad idea for them to make an MP3 player. That is a terrible idea, because Apple already has the MP3 market on lock. All right? It's at the point where people will come up to a random MP3 player that's not by Apple and say, "Oh, look, an iPod." Okay? It is not a good idea for Sony to enter into that place, because there is nothing that it can do there that hasn't already been done.
Yeah. And when people aren't really using an iPod, they're usually using their phones, which is usually an iPhone or a Samsung Galaxy.
Which is an iPod. It's an
Yeah.
iPod. It's just also a phone. I mean, not the Samsung Galaxy, but the Apple phones are.
Yeah.
But I mean, unless you're planning to do that with a phone, I mean, I don't understand. Did they not have Walkman on their smartphones already?
Yeah, they do.
They do?
It's now called Sony Music.
Sony Music. That's confusing to me. I don't understand.
It sounds more like a play on nostalgia more than anything else.
Well,
My phone still says Walkman on it.
Really? Mine says Music.
I'll click on it right now. Walkman. Oh yeah, I have to update it. It updated to Spotify.
mine
Yeah.
says Apple. Yeah, Spotify
Yeah,
was a great
Spotify.
move for PlayStation. Spotify was a great move for PlayStation. I mean, Music Unlimited and Video Unlimited were not doing much. So to have Spotify there is great. What's that, Ben?
I plan to upgrade my phone to another Sony Xperia this year.
Oh, okay.
I think I might get the Z4 when it comes out.
I'm probably going to get the next iPhone that comes out.
Because I've got the original Z, so I'd be like a biggish leap.
Pedro, do you have an iPhone?
Or do you have an Android?
No, I have a Samsung Galaxy Lite.
Right.
Yay, Android user.
I thought there was one Apple product that I mentioned that you had. I thought it was an iPhone.
No, I do have an iPod Touch.
Okay. Oh, no, it was a Mac. You said you had a Mac.
MacBook, so.
That's it. Okay, that's it. Cool. All right. Yeah, I have an iMac myself. I don't know. I like my iPhone. I mean, we're definitely
Apple.
going off topic now, but
That's fine.
maybe one day.
I was gonna say, how is Sony Pictures doing? Like they're.
After the leak, they had issues.
Oh right, I forgot about that.
Yeah. Although Sony and Marvel are finally teaming up a little bit. Let's see, Spider-Man's getting another remake. There are rumors that this new kind of partnership might lead to Spider-Man being in the Avengers, which he should have been in the first place, let's be honest.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm sad that it's no longer Andrew Garfield, but
I'm not.
why not? Why?
I think he sucks.
Well, you are in the minority, for sure.
Oh, that's
I just
unfortunate.
hope that if they make another Spider-Man movie after this, though, I hope they don't cover the origins. Like maybe they just gloss it over, like as a small flashback or something. We've seen
Sony
the
said they don't want to, so.
Oh, good. I think people are getting a little
Sony's
tired of
making,
seeing the origins again.
Sony's making 2 Spider-Man movies. Amazing Spider-Man 3, which is scheduled to come out in 2017. And then, I think like 3 days ago, they announced they're doing an animated Spider-Man movie as well.
Oh, cool.
So that's it. And Spider-Man 3 is supposed to appear in Captain America 3 Civil War for
Interesting.
Marvel. So,
Okay. Speaking of Marvel, Marvel and Telltale are partnering to make games. That is very interesting. I've heard over on PSU, someone, I don't remember who, but someone wasn't too happy about it.
probably me.
So you're not very happy about the partnership?
No, not necessarily, no.
Well, why not? What's up?
I think it's the wrong direction for Marvel to go if they're trying to make a Marvel video game.
Yeah.
I think they need to make something that appeals to their characters more, rather than do a game where you're mostly watching and making random decisions that don't really affect the story of the game in any way. Which is what Telltale has been doing for a while now, in my opinion.
Okay.
And plus, I don't know who wants to play as the Hulk, where pretty much, or any Marvel character where, I'm just giving the Hulk an example because that's, would be a fun character to play as. Where literally your only gameplay with him is, what do you want to do today? A, smash stuff. B, smash some more stuff. Or C, go for a walk. And then you just watch him do it. You don't actually get to smash the stuff. You just watch him smash everything.
So it sounds like the problem's less with the partnership and more with Telltale. More of the fact that they're partnering with Telltale specifically.
Yeah.
So what was Telltale's last release? What was their last big game?
What was that one based on Fable? What?
I think of a different
Game
company.
of Thrones is the last game they released.
What was it? Wolf Among Us, I think it was called. It was based on that Fable comic. And then before that, I think, was Walking Dead Season 2.
Yeah, but they've got Game of Thrones, Walking Dead. No, Game of Thrones and Borderlands going on right now. Then they've got Minecraft.
So Telltale Games is basically just sucking up all the licenses it can.
Essentially.
Yeah.
They also did that Back to the Future game.
Yeah.
So it sounds like what they're doing is they're taking all of these third-party properties and kind of doing the same kind of game with them.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, they tend to do like point-and-click adventure type games that are very cinematic in nature. It's less focused on gameplay and more on like puzzle solving, finding stuff, and interactions with other characters.
Okay, well, that makes me wonder why Marvel decided to partner with them. Could it have been money? No, that can't be it.
Money being involved with video games?
Oh, no, never.
No, that never happens. Video games are too pure. Too pure.
Okay. Well, I mean, we'll see what happens, but so far it doesn't seem like there's any reason to expect anything new from Telltale, as far as Marvel is concerned.
We can also expect the same bugs.
Yeah,
consistent.
Pretty much. At least they're consistent, I guess.
They should know what to expect.
So, who wants to talk about Don Mattrick?
I think I'll let you guys do that.
Do you know Don Mattrick?
The name rings a bell.
Okay. Oh, okay. Garri, you know Garri, I can hear you.
Yeah, you can speak words.
You can speak words. Garri wants to talk about about Black Ops 3. For some reason, you're sending me texts when I'm like right here.
Sorry, I just have company and they were talking and I don't want to.
Okay.
Michael.
Go for it, Garri. Black Ops 3.
Oh yeah, Black Ops 3. Well, it leaked a little bit. Then they released that trailer. I don't know if you guys saw the live action trailer they released. They kind of talked about what's going on in the story, and now they leaked some more images of the DLC that's coming out for it.
Oh yeah, because naturally.
Pretty much the only reason I want to bring this up is I'm at the point now with this game has shown me right now that they have no more ideas for Call of Duty, and they're just ripping off other games at this point. And Black Ops 3 is a complete, in my opinion, rip-off of Deus Ex in every way.
Okay.
Even the leaked screenshots that they released that have the gold hue that Deus Ex uses in their games as well. If you haven't seen it, go check it out.
But Garri, you know what?
Yes.
For the next 6 months after release, we'll still be saying them on our NPD episodes in the top 10.
Yeah.
I know.
That's the thing that bugs me. No matter what they do, if it's Call of Duty, it's going to be in the top 10.
No, I understand. I'm just saying that at this point, they're just straight up ripping off other games for their own games.
Yeah.
Like, the whole story of that game is about augmentations and augmenting your human body.
Wow. Yeah.
That is the whole story of what's going on in that game, from what I saw in that trailer. And even in one of the leaked screenshots, they have some robot that looks like Metal Gear Rex in the background shooting at people.
You know what? I just want them to copy everything. At least then it'll be a good game.
So the setting is still post like what was the setting in the last one? Black Ops 2, was it like 2025 or something like that? It's still like in the near future, but not like
not too far, but not.
It jumped between the past and I won't say future, but a little bit kind of future present. I'd say probably 10 years. Yeah. But this one is all future, and I think it's like 2070 something. I think the year it takes place in.
Wow.
And just looking at it, I'm just like I'm sorry. I am just disgusted by it. quite honestly, that it's come to the point where they have to steal other people's ideas for their own games. That's how I feel. I just wanted to bring that up. Sorry.
Why are you
While we're talking about Black Ops 3, though, I want to say this. If you pre-order Black Ops 3 soon, I think pre-order should start Monday, there's a rumour that you'll be getting access to a early beta test for pre-ordering the game. So if you want to beta test the new Call of Duty and see how boring it is before it gets released, so you don't have to buy it, make sure you pre-order it and then cancel it for your free beta test.
Okay.
Can I talk about my competition as it ties in with this pretty much?
Why not? I was going to save it for the end, but you can mention
I was going to, but as this ties in with Call of Duty.
Before you do, I gotta go now. Sorry, guys.
Oh,
Okay.
you don't want to stay for the exciting competitions?
I know the competition though, Ben.
Okay.
I know it ties in perfectly, but let's just save it for the end so that it's more stands out.
Such tease.
Such a
Such
tease.
news.
Okay. Gary,
Yes.
we'll see you soon, dude.
All right. Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'll talk to you guys.
Thanks for deserting us.
I'm sorry.
No, you're not. You're not sorry.
Yeah, maybe not. Probably not.
Okay, guys.
All right. I'll see ya.
Oh,
All
good.
right.
Yeah, man. Have a good
Have
one,
a good
Gary.
night.
Guys, you will hear about Ben's exciting competition very soon.
So excited.
Don,
What was this about? Yo, go ahead.
Don Mattrick, you said he sounds familiar.
Yeah, former head of Xbox. Sorry, I had a brain.
Yes, former head of Xbox. He was on stage. He was the one who said, what was it he said? Oh yeah, people were complaining about the always online thing about Xbox One, and they were like, he was like, oh, well, we have a device for people who can't get online. It's called the Xbox 360. Ooh.
Ugh.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was him. He moved to Zynga. He became the CEO of Zynga. I believe that same year, pretty shortly after E3 of 2013. And Zynga needed it. Zynga got pretty popular with Farmville. That was mostly on the computer, also online. You had games like Hanging with Friends and Scrabble with Friends and Words with Friends and Blank with Friends. That was all Zynga. However, you probably haven't heard too much about Zynga lately. That's because they've been in a little bit of a hole. They have not been making a lot of games. Don Mattrick came in with all these great ideas to turn that around, and actually he didn't do a terrible job. He was behind the acquisition of Natural Motion, which was, I think, something like a $500 million something acquisition. And the only problem with that is Natural Motion hasn't really done that much since being acquired by Zynga. However, there have been a lot more mobile bookings. They've grown from 27% to 60%, according to Zynga's website. And now, Don Mattrick is leaving. Don Mattrick is leaving Zynga. Don't know where he's going, but the founder of Zynga, Mark Pincus, is returning. What's interesting, and what I found interesting, by the way, was Don Mattrick's paycheck. Despite Zynga's troubles, he made a good $57,814,391 in 2014. I wish I could make seven figures in my paycheck, but that's probably not going to happen anytime soon. So there we go. Don Mattrick is leaving once more to go do something else. The press release from Zynga was very positive about Don Mattrick. I've been looking around and I've seen good things and I've seen bad things. Mostly, he's been doing pretty well. He helped Zynga quite a bit, but it hasn't gone as far as I think everybody expected. So, anything to say here on Don Mattrick?
Nah, man. I just know that, a lot of people didn't really like him for his decisions towards the intro of the Xbox One. Other than that, I haven't really paid attention. I did hear about his move to Zynga, but that's about it.
Yeah, I've been seeing that a lot of people don't like him. Like, not just his decisions, but I've been seeing... this is just internet stuff, so it's consider it rumor. It doesn't mean anything. But I've been seeing things around the internet that suggest that he's not always a likable guy. So, I don't know what that really says about him, because, you know, half the stuff on the internet's total BS. But, there we go. I don't know. All I know is he really wasn't that likable around the time of Xbox at all. We got things from him... the whole flip the switch thing, like he was interviewing with someone was interviewing him, and he said something like, oh, you know, we know that you can flip the switch here, you know that, we know that you can take all of this stuff, all the DRM, all of this, and just turn it off. And he stopped the guy in like the most arrogant way, and he's like, excuse me, were you on the development team? And he's like, no. And he's like, well, there you go. He was a douchebag. He was a total and utter douchebag, which is probably where some of these rumors about him not being likable come from. But he didn't strike me as a very likable guy around Xbox. So I don't know where he's going next, but goodbye to you, Don Mattrick from Zynga. And Mark Pincus returns. Have you guys have you guys even played any Zynga games as of late, or seen any Zynga games?
No, I've seen any for ages.
It's been a good while. I mean, the last one I remember was Scrabble with Friends. And I don't game on my phone that much. I do either console or computer, and that's that.
I don't game much. I just play Goat Simulator.
Yeah, that's not gaming. That's not gaming.
It is a game.
It's not a game. It's not a game. I refuse. Okay.
Anyway, by that interview, that was, if I'm right, Angry Joe.
Oh, that was Angry Joe that he was interviewing?
Yeah, it was Angry Joe. I thought it was Major Nelson that did that quote. Yeah, with Angry Joe.
Oh, that wasn't Don Mattrick?
No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think that was Major Nelson, if I'm rightly.
Oh, yeah, you know what? Yes, I think you're right.
It was Major Nelson?
Yeah, Major Nelson.
Well, Major Nelson was also a douche.
Yeah. Well, I think Angry Joe caught him off guard, which didn't help.
Well, I mean, just in general, the whole attitude that company had at that time was really arrogant. Yeah. You know, I mean, whether it was Don Mattrick or Major Nelson or whoever, I mean, the entire company seemed to be on a power trip. Like, look at what we did to Generation 7. We were ahead for, like, 99% of it. So, you know, we're the greatest, and you guys are going to like whatever the heck we decide we want to put out there. And if you don't, then screw you and go back and get something else. That was the whole feel of what they were doing. I'm sorry, what were you guys saying?
I'm going to say that every third console has an issue. Every third console.
Well, you notice this. It's sort of a trend where, like, a console maker that does really well in the previous generation almost carries on this sort of ego with their next console, thinking that you know, well, we got them this time. They'll come back around a second time. You know, happened with the PS3's launch when the PS2 was very successful. It happened in a way with Wii U on the back of the Wii success. You know,
what happened was you had the N64, which had a little bit of an issue. Not great, but it still had a bit of an issue. Then you had the PS3. Then you had the the Sega Saturn, because Sega just put so much effort into it. Every third console, look at Microsoft third console issues. Every third console seems to be cursed.
That's a good point.
Well, I mean, I'd almost say that, I mean, if it's a curse, it didn't hurt them too much, because since Phil Spencer got back, I think I alluded to this last week too, since Phil Spencer's been the head of Xbox, I mean, Xbox has been doing great. I mean, I think
it's still not selling as much as this. There's still a 400,000 drop this year compared to last year.
As far for unit sales.
Yeah, unit sales.
Okay.
It's been doing better, but it's only because they've been price dropping so much. That's going to help with the sales in the short term, but in long term, they're going to keep cutting the price has gone down again in the UK. I think If they keep cutting down the price, people are just going to decide, well, I was going to buy it, but yet last month it was this price, and now it's this price. What's it going to be next month?
Well, I'd disagree with that, actually, because if you take a look at what happened over the holidays, Xbox did pass the PS4 in monthly unit sales.
Yeah.
And yes, part of that was the price drop, but it was
Yeah.
also because PlayStation was really quiet. I mean,
Yeah.
I guess it was because of the PlayStation experience, but PlayStation was really quiet, whereas Xbox was coming out with games. If you look at this part of the year, up until E3, I don't think there are any Xbox exclusive games coming out. I mean, there are hardly any big third-party games coming out, but add to that the fact that there are barely any Xbox exclusive games, whereas PS4 has The Order, which didn't do great, but it was still PlayStation exclusive. You had Bloodborne, which is actually doing phenomenal right now. You have more reasons to buy the PlayStation 4 right now than you do the Xbox One. And, I mean, could that be, like, Microsoft's actual fault? I mean, yeah, it could. But it could be because of game delays. It could be all sorts of things. It could be just because they spent all their energy on Christmas and didn't really leave anything for the first part of 2015. But I think that there's more to it than just the price drop. I think there's just not much in store for the Xbox One until E3, where Phil Spencer... Excuse you.
Sorry.
You okay?
Yeah, I'm okay.
You sure?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Just making sure. At E3 2015... What the heck?
Sorry about that.
That sounded like a drill.
That was my birth.
At E3 2015, Phil Spencer is saying that he wants Microsoft's press conference to be all about, or I don't know about all about, but mostly about first-party exclusive titles. So, I mean, I guess the true test of that will be what post-E3 for Microsoft looks like.
Yeah, I think that's what really will sell consoles, is the first-party exclusives. And if what Phil Spencer says is true, maybe things will be looking up more for the Xbox One. That's kind of the curse of the third-party titles. Like, it'll help you, like, to a degree, third-party, as long as it's not exclusive, you know, it'll give the filler for, like, your releases, your major releases. But if it's on all three consoles, it really doesn't really grab you to get another console if you own one already. So if Microsoft is really planning on focusing on these big first-party releases, that'll be like experiences that you can only get on Xbox, which will drive people to want to get an Xbox console.
Exactly. And so, I mean, I guess that's one big concern. Quantum Break was delayed. That was one of the big ones for Xbox because it was announced with the console. You know, everyone's been waiting on that one, and it looks good. Quantum Break was delayed, so we're not going to see that until at least 2016. I mean, we'll just have to see what they have in store for E3, and that's probably going to determine whether or not Xbox's sales continue to grow at any influential rate here. But until then, I don't see them really passing PlayStation 4 again until those games come out. And don't forget that PlayStation has a conference as well. It's not just going to sit there and watch. So,
I must admit, though, with the recent price drop in the UK, I'm very tempted.
Right, PlayStation 4 has...
I mean, the Xbox One.
Oh, they got another price drop in the UK, did they?
Yeah, well, it's not an official price drop, but a lot of websites like Shop2 have the Xbox One plus The Witcher 3 and Batman Arkham Knight and £15 worth of Sky, what do they call it now? Sky Now or something like that, which is like a movie rental service.
So, Pedro, am I correct in saying that your current preference for a console is the Xbox One?
It's not so much a preference. It's that the PS4 essentially, even though David and I kind of went halvesies on it, it primarily lives with him. It's his preference.
Well,
yeah, it's his preference. So I'm playing the Xbox a bit more. I like them both, but the Xbox One is the one I play with more.
Well, I'll ask you this: if you were talking to a person who loves PlayStation but might like to try an Xbox One, has an opportunity coming out, such as Ben right here, what would you say? Convince Ben to get an Xbox One.
And don't just rely on Goat Simulator.
No, don't rely on
I
Goat
know that
Simulator.
works.
I'm not saying this to kind of be like, oh, go Xbox One, but I really want to say, what are the benefits of getting an Xbox One if you already have PlayStation?
Honestly, I mean, it's got a good it's got a pretty good online infrastructure. It's got well, it's really, if you have a 360, I don't know if you have a 360. You have a 360, Ben?
Yeah, a 360.
It's got a very similar format to the 360, in my opinion. Gameplay wise, I know that the PS4 is more powerful.
Yeah.
But I honestly can't tell the difference between the two, graphically wise. As the Xbox One stands right now, like you said, Glenn, there isn't enough first-party titles out there. I really would have a hard time convincing him at this moment, but post E3, I won't know. Maybe that might change. The only indie game, the only game that really stood out for me personally was that indie game Ori and the Blind Forest, which is a fantastic title.
I love that game. I love that game so far. I've played 2 hours of it, but I love that game.
Yeah,
I think it's about 10 hours.
Right now. Was that?
It's about 10 hours in length.
Yeah, give or take. You know, it depends on if you want to go off the beaten path and like collect more stuff to power up Ori. You know, to make him more stronger. But as it stands right now, I honestly would have a hard time convincing Ben, because really between the exclusives between the Xbox One and the PS4, there just aren't enough. I wouldn't say there is any to justify it right now. I kind of preemptively got my Xbox One because I'm sort of expecting a lot of really good titles to come out through E3. I've only had my Xbox One since February, so.
Mm-hmm. I will say that I'm enjoying Sunset Overdrive a lot. I beat that game a while ago. I love it. I'm enjoying the whole TV controlling all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And I will say this. I had an interesting customer experience because my Kinect, I have a Kinect, and it stopped working. It was weird. I was in the middle of watching a show, and it just turned off, and it refused to turn back on again. And, you know, I contacted Microsoft. They told me to send it in. They're shipping me a new one as we speak. Also, what happened was the button on my controller started sticking. I have the white Xbox One that came with Sunset Overdrive, so it's kind of a limited edition. And the white controller is not on sale. You cannot walk into any store and buy a white Xbox One controller. It's just shipped with the Sunset Overdrive bundle. And so I contacted them and I said, hey, my controller's sticking. They agreed to send me a new one. The next day, I realized, wait, are they sending me a white one or a black one? And I called them, I contacted them back through chat. And the guy I spoke to, his name was Jerome. And he was telling me, actually, we're just sending you a plain black one because the white one is not available. It was limited edition. And I said, well, that's disappointing. And he said, oh, you know, he seemed surprised that I was really disappointed with getting a different color of console. I guess he didn't figure that was a big deal. But what he did was, you know, he had me waiting for like 10 minutes. I was just kind of waiting. He checked on me. I'm working on it. And after a while, he said, you know, I'm sorry, we can't give you the white controller. It's just not available. We don't have any. It's for the bundle. We can't give it to you. But here, we'll send you a black one, and you can keep your white one. So we'll just send you a black one for free. There you go. And you know what? I was impressed. I was impressed because he could have just said, I'm sorry, you know, we don't have it. We can't give it to you. I'm sorry. We'll have to send you just a black one. Send us back your white one. But he went out of his way to make sure I still left that conversation happy. I mean, that's good customer service there. I didn't ask him that for it. I wasn't upset with him. I wasn't like, oh, this is terrible. I was just like, oh, you know, that sucks. Yeah, I like my white one. It came with my console. And he's like, oh, he went out of his way to make sure I was happy. I actually spoke to Sony, I think the next day, because I have a black DualShock 4 and a white DualShock 4, and on the black one, the rubber started to tear. on one of the analog sticks. That's actually a common issue. It's something
Yeah.
they know about. It happens.
I've had 2 controllers do that.
Right. And the first thing out of the guy I spoke to, the guy's name was Sabas or something like that, Sabas. And the first thing he said was, how long ago did you buy your console? And I told him, well, I bought it November 13, 2013. That was the day it launched. He said, sorry, your console's out of warranty. I can't do anything for you. Well, the thing is, this black controller, it's not the one that came with the console. It's one that I bought about 6 months ago. And, I mean, before he even asked, he just kind of assumed that. And he was like, oh, okay, well, do you still have the receipt? No, I don't have the receipt. I bought the stupid thing 6 months ago. Why do you think I still have my receipt? I mean, sure, some people are really good at keeping their receipts, but after 6 months of having the thing, I don't usually hang on to my receipt,
I still have my PS3 receipt from 2006.
I do. With big purchases, I usually keep the receipt. I usually put the receipt in the box somewhere, and I leave it in. I just leave it with the box. But for something like a controller, I mean, I don't usually keep the receipt that long. I might keep it for a month or so, and if nothing's, until the time that I can take it back to the store, and if nothing goes wrong with it, and I think about it, I guess I just discard the receipt. But no, he was like, you have to have the receipt. Where'd you buy it? Oh, I bought it at Walmart. Contact Walmart and maybe they can print it for you. Bye. I mean, it felt kind of dismissive. And so I was surprised about that because Sony, I've had great customer service from them in the past. I really have. They've been good, especially with the launch, with some issues. They were really good at handling defective consoles and all of that. But, to tell the truth, the customer service that I got with Microsoft, with Xbox, impressed me. And the customer service that I got with Sony and PlayStation left a little bit to be desired. It wasn't just that, oh, this is the policy. It just felt like, I really don't care. Like, besides the fact that he he just kind of assumed something before he even asked a question, it felt kind of dismissive. So, I don't know what that says about the two companies. Frankly, I love my PlayStation. I've been with PlayStation for years and years. But I don't know. I see good things in both companies, and I think that Microsoft has the customer service part down.
Yeah.
So, between customer service, between past titles, even though there aren't a lot of new titles coming out, some of the past titles are pretty good. I love Sunset Overdrive. I love Ori and the Blind Forest. Titanfall is okay. I've played it like twice. It's not a big deal.
I didn't really care for it.
No.
I tried.
But
I liked Dead Rising 3, but that was more Capcom than that.
mhm. Other than that, the whole thing with the vocal control and all that, I don't think that should be a selling point for anyone who's just gamers. I don't think that should be, hey, I'm a gamer, I must have this thing that controls my TV. I don't think so. But if it's still really cool, it's really convenient, and I've gotten accustomed to walking into my room and saying Xbox on, and everything turns on. So, there you go. It's pretty good. I don't think that was something that really mystified me when they were marketing the Xbox One. It's like, hey, this is a device for gamers. Here's all this other stuff that has nothing to do with gamers. I was really perplexed, I really was.
They wanted to focus it on an entertainment center first, gaming console second, which is not what people ran for.
No, that hurt them. That really hurt them. They had great ideas, but games first, dude.
Yeah, I think they were better off like taking the idea and using it for another product, and just leaving Xbox.
Let me tell you something. The set-top box market is crazy. It's lame. Because all of these boxes do the same thing for the most part. They all do Netflix, Hulu, Amazon, Crunchyroll, WWE Network, all of that stuff. It's, same thing, different package with a minor feature here and there. Like the Apple TV will, stream stuff from your iPod, and the Kindle Fire TV will have a microphone on it, and, stuff like that. if Microsoft had taken all this stuff and first put it on its own separate set-top box, it would have made a killing off of that. Because non-gamers, that's something for non-gamers. Non-gamers are not going to spend $400 or $500 or whatever it was they were asking just to be able to talk to their TV. At least not the middle-class ones. Maybe the ones that have just money to throw in the fireplace might. But if they were to put that in a separate box, maybe sell it for $100, $150, they would have made a lot of money off of that because it's actually pretty sweet. And then they could add that into an Xbox. They can do like an add-on or something for Xbox and make that possible. But they could have really done something great if they had made that a separate thing.
Yeah, that's what I don't know what they were thinking. I think they were just trying to capitalize on that market because they saw it was a growing market. But Xbox, the brand Xbox, the first thing you're always going to think of is games.
Right.
Gaming.
Exactly.
You know?
Xbox was the leader in the 7th generation for games. Not for TV, for games. So, I mean, it's good to spread your wings. It's good to branch out, but don't lose sight of your audience.
My PS3 could watch. I used to record TV on my PS3. It was amazing.
You used to record TV on your PS3? How'd you do that?
Europe had a device called Play TV where you could watch your TV on your PS3, and you could also record your shows in the background while you're playing games. It was a pretty nice device.
That's pretty cool. I didn't know anything about that.
Yeah, it came out in Europe and Australia.
Okay, cool.
It was something to do with the fact that there's quite a few different region codings in America. That's why I never got released there.
Okay, guys. Let's do a couple small stories here, and then we will start to wrap things up. Sound good?
Okay.
Okay, sounds good. All right, Fable Legends is having a beta this weekend. If you're familiar with Fable, they're really kind of changing things up. They're doing stuff for Windows 10 in it, and they're making it all seamless and whatnot. One big thing that's happened since we went off the air for a while is Fable Legends was announced to be free to play. Any Xbox or any PC will be able to play Fable Legends without paying for it. However, Lionhead Studios says there will be, quote, no paywalls or energy meters in Fable Legends. It'll be free to play, but not pay to win. So the last game that I've played that pulled that off really well was Guild Wars 2. I am not sure what the plan is for Fable Legends, but we shall see. There is a beta this weekend. If you have already been selected, have fun. I will be playing it. If you have not been selected, make sure you go to FableLegends.com and sign up so that future beta events might have you in them. Have you guys played Fable?
Yeah, I've played all. Oh well, I've played 1, 2, and 3.
This will be my first Fable game because it's my first Xbox. That's why I haven't bothered to get it for PC. Also, Heroes of the Storm is coming out. It's developed by Blizzard Entertainment, the studio behind World of Warcraft, the most popular MMO game in existence. Heroes of the Storm is a MOBA, multiplayer online battle arena. If that sounds familiar to you, that is because the most popular MOBA right now is League of Legends. It's basically League of Legends by Blizzard. So we will see how that goes. There's been a lot of talk about it so far. Blizzard's a well-known studio. The release date for Heroes of the Storm is June 2nd. So if you're interested, head to, I believe the website is, it's us.battle.net/heroes, or just Google Heroes of the Storm and you'll get there. So there's that. I had one more short story here, and it's gone. Oh yeah. Oh, this wasn't a short story. This was just something that we mentioned once on RDGH that I wanted to mention again. Swap Me Games. It's a little app. Do you remember this, Ben?
Yeah, I think I remember it. Someone on Twitter that told us about it.
Yeah, Swap Me Games. It's an app that you can download to your phone. What it does is you tell it what games you have, and if you want to trade a game, you say, hey, I want to trade this game. What the app does is it matches you to someone in your area who wants that game and sets it up so that you two can trade. So that way you don't have to, go to GameStop and get like $5 for your $50 game. You can just trade it directly for another game, and it's all handled right there within the app. Except, I suppose, for the actual transfer, which I suppose might be kind of like Craigslist. You have to meet up somewhere and swap. So there's that. Swap Me Games, if you want more info, go to swapmegames.com. It's currently available for iOS only, not on Android. The good news is that they have a contest going on. You can win a PS4. So there's that. Pedro.
Yes.
Does this sound like something you would use?
Well, I'm Android, so I don't think it's anything I could take advantage of.
That's right. You are not on the dark side. Okay. All right. Ben.
I'm also Android.
No, I'm not talking about Swap Me Games. I'm not talking about Swap Me Games now. Your contest. Let's talk about your contest.
Okay, well, recently I acquired a copy of Call of Duty Black Ops 2 Hardened Edition for the Xbox 360. This was nicely donated to me by the people at Game. Basically, I just donated it to me to give away because they're nice. So I've been racking my brain on what type of question. Of course, it's got to be an easy question because obviously nobody plays these Call of Duty games, so nobody will know any difficult, hard to know question because it's Call of Duty. And who's ever played one of those? I know I haven't. But if you want a chance to play a Call of Duty, that's that unique IP that no one really talks about or ever heard about before. You've got a chance to win a copy, though this is a PAL copy. This is a UK-based copy, so the Xbox 360 is region locked, isn't it? If I'm rightly. It's not region free, I don't think.
I'm not sure. I'd never had an Xbox 360.
Basically, it's really open to only UK customers, UK owners, so we say. But if you do want to win and you live in North America, I cannot guarantee that the copy will work on your system if you win. I can't guarantee the DLC codes will work. But
yes,
if you want,
the Xbox 360 was region locked. I'm looking it up now.
Okay, so you cannot play this game on your console. So if you do want to, you can, but you will not be able to play the game. You'll just be able to look at it on your shelf. So it's really only for UK residents. I'm sorry about that, North America. Basically, I'm going to ask the question: who was the main character in the past, not the future part of the game, from a previous game that returns as the main character in Black Ops 2? So not the future part, the 1980s part. Who is the protagonist that returns from the previous Black Ops to number 2? If you can guess this right, email me at ben.shillabeer-hall@psu.com or email 4GO. What's our 4GO email again?
It's 4GOcast@gmail.
There you go, email that if you want to, but recommend email ben.shillabeer-hall@psu.com. That's ben.shillabler-HALL at psu.com. So yeah, check it out and send the answer there. You'll have a chance to win a hardened edition. And thanks to the people at Game Scarborough.
Okay, hold on 1 second. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. You have 18 characters in your last name.
That's not even my full name.
Oh no, in your name. In your full name.
You want my full name? Okay.
In Ben Shillabeer-Hall.
Okay. You want my full name though?
Don't spell it.
Benjamin Thomas William Shillabeer-Hall.
Wait, what? Benjamin Thomas William Shillabeer-Hall. I'm not going to count that right now. You need a stamp to write your full name. That's like a whole alphabet. My name is Glenn. 5 letters. So there we go. So what was the question one more time, Ben?
Who is the protagonist that returns from the previous Black Ops game in this new Black Ops game 2, not 3?
All right.
He's a protagonist and he returns in the Cold War section of the game. And no more spoilers apart from that. You got to guess it. I know it's going to be hard because it's Call of Duty. And you know, and by the way, it's not Benjamin, it's Ben.Shillabeer-Hall, sorry, at psu.com. I know it's going to be hard because it's Call of Duty. Nobody really plays that IP because, you know, it's so new. But, you know, email me sometime and you might have a chance to win. Remember, this is a UK copy and UK blah, 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 yeah, blah, blah. Yeah, if you can't play if you live in North America unless you've got a UK console. Just making sure that people don't get, you know, complain to me when they get the copy and then they say they can't play it.
If you have the answer, you can email Ben at ben.shillabeer-hall at psu.com. You can email us at 4gocast@gmail.com or tweet us at 4g only. So thank you for that, Ben.
No problem. I want to say thank you to the people at Game. That was really nice of them.
By the way, I did count, and you have 36 characters in your full name. That's more than the alphabet, just saying.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we've had a good...
I'm inventing the new alphabet. The Chillabet.
There are a lot of L's in the new alphabet. We have had a good episode here. Garri was here, and now he is not. But shout out to Garri, wherever he may be. Oh, snap. Before I go, there was something that I wanted to do. But actually, I'm just going to wait and do it next week. Guys, we are available wherever you get all your amazing stuff for free. iTunes, we're on Stitcher. We're not on SoundCloud yet. We're working on that. If you would like to potentially donate to the show, send us a tweet. We haven't set that up yet, but if there is maybe slight interest, hey, we only need $25 a month to be self-sufficient here right now, and that would indeed get us on SoundCloud too. So if you are able to give a couple dollars here and there once in a blue moon, hey, let us know. We'd put it straight to the podcast.
You should do a Patreon.
Yeah, well, we could do Patreon. That would be interesting. Hey, actually, that's not a bad idea. We'll see. We'll see what happens, but it would be nice to be self-sufficient here. We're paying for stuff out of pocket, and if we get any extra, we'll put it toward improving the quality of the show, between our equipment and between our software that we use. Hey guys, it's actually Sunday, the day after this episode was recorded, and I'm just going to throw something in there. After some discussion, we have actually gone ahead and made a Patreon for 4GO. If you don't know what Patreon is, it's kind of like Kickstarter, but it's not for big single projects that need a lot of funding. It's for ongoing projects, kind of like 4GO, where patrons, that's you, can choose to pledge a certain amount for each published work. You control how much you want to donate, and you can cancel your pledge whenever you feel like it. And you know what? We're going to think of great rewards for those who decide to support us. So if you'd like to check it out, go to patreon.com/4GO. That's patreon.com, patreon.com/4GO. So all of that's in the works there. If you'd like to contact us, we are at 4G only on Twitter or at 4gocast@gmail.com. Number 4, not letter 4. That doesn't even make sense. But you know what I mean, because you're gamers and you're smart. So contact us there if you need to. You can contact me on Twitter at goglenn_, at GOGLENN_, and you can contact Ben at...
well, I said earlier, but we'll go again. Ben.Shillabeer-Hall at psu.com, Chile_UK. I've been taken at hotmail.com. All the ways to stalk me.
Are all the ways to stalk you. Pedro, as far as I am aware, has not given me any specific contact information yet.
Yeah, just reach me through the 4GO Gmail.
4gocast@gmail or 4G only.
Yeah.
Guys, our music this week once again comes from Overclocked Remix. Overclocked Remix is a great place. If you're a gamer and you like music, which most gamers do, then OC Remix is for you. Our intro this week is called Ocean View. It's from Sonic the Hedgehog, the original one from the Sega Genesis in 1991.
Mega Drive.
and it's by DCT and Guitar Man from OC Remix. The outro, which is going to start very shortly here, you'll hear it coming through your wonderful speakers, is called Laguna Tides. It's a remix from Final Fantasy X, which was on the PS2 and more recently on the Vita, and it's by Emunator. OC Remix is a great place, as I said, to hear these and many more video game remixes in full and for free. That's right, just head straight to ocremix.org, ocremix.org. And with that, ladies and gents, we are finished with episode 8. Was that more or less fun than last week, Pedro?
Yeah, it was just about, it was just as fun.
Just as fun. You're lying, aren't you?
No, not at all.
I can hear the skepticism in your voice.
No, it's just that I've got the bird on me and she's moving up and down.
She's dead.
You have no idea. This bird is huge and likes to stop.
She's
doing.
supposed
to make sure her opinions get noted on the cast.
Yeah.
See, she's applying.
She knows we're talking about her.
Is she doing the bird dance where she just kind of bounces up and down on her feet?
Yeah. She had me by the ear earlier, and I was trying to get her off. That's why she squawked. That loud squawk. She was pulling at me. I'm like trying to get her off, and she just screamed.
How dare you stop me from biting your ear off, human? How dare you? How dare you?
That was my snack for lunch.
I can injure you whenever I feel like it, and you can't do a thing about it. That's what she was saying.
She's trying to give me a free piercing. I just didn't want it. That's all.
Okay, guys. We will see you next week. Pedro, Ben, will you be around for next week?
Yeah, should be around for next week.
We will
figure
it out.
We could just have the bird on for an hour. That'd be amazing.
Yeah, Bailey. She seems talkative sometimes.
Bailey could just be a guest. Slash the entire podcast.
I'll just leave her in front of there, and then you guys can talk. Bailey, what do you think? That's all she'll do.
Okay. I think the audience could get into that, right? Anyways, guys, until next week, stay safe, game hard, and we will see you next week. Ben, what are we this week?
Well, of course, we're forthcoming goats on site.
Okay, we'll see you next week, guys.